around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll. From Cape Cod to Cancun, from Tampa to Taipei, from Vegas to the Vatican, we got you covered from overnight numbers to opening morning numbers to the midday market report and soon the closing bell. But I couldn't do this without my co-host from the Palm Tree State himself, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, how are you
today?
Doing well.
I decided to sport my Raiders jersey today just because I haven't given any love to the Raiders, and by golly, I think they got a good chance to win the AFC West this year. So I'm like, I'm going to sport my jersey today.
Well, as I talk to you via text off the air, the East Coast getting ready for potentially 3 nor'easters this week, starting this afternoon, early evening, straight through till tomorrow, and then potentially Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I did get word that Noah's Ark has arrived on Cape Cod. So we're all set there. But as I said to you, I guess we're blessed so far that it's going to be rain, not snow. I mean, they're talking, could be up to a foot of rain, which, for every inch of rain is a foot of snow. So I don't know what's going to happen. The one things that I always pray for is everyone's safety. That's first and foremost. Wet ground creates, unstable trees, tree limbs, and stuff like that. So, if you don't have to be out, don't get out. Go run to the store, get your, your milk, your eggs, your bread, your toilet paper, whatever you need. But I'm always praying 2 things: that the power stays on and that I have internet. That's all I ask. I'm not asking for much. And unfortunately, having DirecTV, the high wind and the rains, that kind of puts that to a damper. So gotta just, maybe read some books. I don't know, but I'm just gonna hope to stay busy. But I'm hoping to wake up the rest of the world here after that snooze fest last night, 13-10. What everyone kind of sort of expected. I mean, everyone was talking unders. Everyone was talking, why is the Saints, that thing at some spots got up to 6 by kickoff. And I assume, that was, again, that false move trying to beg for money. I mean, the Saints had opportunities. I was kind of chuckling because I thought Geno was going to get sacked for the safety and it lands on 5. And then the cornerback on that last throw was literally a half second behind, or it would have been a pick 6 for the cover. But Pete Carroll, you know what? Loved you. Great job. You cost me $1 gazillion in that Super Bowl against the Pats. Second play of the game, you hit Metcalf for 84 yards, and then you decide to run it like 40 straight times and don't look at him till the end of the 3rd, start of the 4th. I'm done. The stage is yours, Scott.
Well, I think that the NFL has progressed to a stage where some of these guys don't fit anymore. Pete Carroll's one of those guys. He's got one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, and that Russ Cook thing, it's real. I mean, I get it. He's going to make mistakes, and he's not perfect. So you got to balance that offense, and you got to do the different things that make it all work. But you bring in a new offensive coordinator this year because you threw the ball too much last year. And in today's NFL, who does that besides nobody? So it doesn't surprise me that you look at New Orleans, who's a top 5 defense against the run, and you decide, well, that's the way we're going to attack them. We're going to attack them against their strengths, and we're going to try to use our bad offensive line against their good defensive line. And, oh, by the way, we don't have any running backs because they're all hurt, and we're just going to run the ball anyway. That doesn't make any damn sense. And they got lucky on that play. If you take that one play away, that's 80-some yards. I think that was 86 yards, that play. If you take that play away, I think that's half the yards they gained in the whole game. So, the way I look at it is a guy like Pete Carroll is, you know, he's Mr. Energetic, Mr. Positive guy. He's the oldest coach, I think, left in the NFL. And the truth is, the game's gone past him. And if he's not willing to participate in what the brand of football they play today, I think that's going to start showing up in the wins and the losses, even though he's been covered by the greatness that is Russell Wilson. So it doesn't surprise me. I just watched that game, though, and I started thinking to myself, is this team really going to be competitive against Tom Brady this week? I mean, I get it. They play good defense, but if you can't score, it doesn't. You can be the best defense in football, and if you've got a really good offense, they're still going to put up 25, 30 points. It's the way it is. The rules dictate that. I mean, we saw that last year. So I'm sort of in a quandary here to think that, this team is not going to be very competitive against the Bucs this week.
It's going to be interesting there for sure. Again, I'm not even going to, wind, rain, yada, yada, yada. But, the fact of the matter is, again, that was Jameis. I mean, he looked like a deer in a headlight. Some of those throws, I mean, the pressure, listen, hats off to both defenses. They played well. They hit hard. They made their plays when they had to for the most part. But neither one of these defenses are the 85 Bears. I think both offensive coordinators came in with that approach. And hats off to Peyton here, because they knew that Kamara was going to have a hard time to run the ball, so he sends him out in the wide receiver. And I think at halftime it was like 8 for 109 or something. So at least Peyton tried to, hey, listen, if we can't run it, we'll get Kamara the ball any way we can. Not that they will do this, not that he's thinking this, but, maybe Pete Carroll's agent might want to call up USC and say, hey, the NFL game's passed me. Let me finish my last couple of years over back at USC, and maybe we could play that back again. But we'll see. Changing gears, World Series tonight. We've been talking for the last few days about this. I think it's a series that's going to be a fun series. I think both teams match up well. I talked about the opening line, and I think currently still as we speak, Braves minus 145. I'm sorry, Astros minus 145, Braves plus 125. We can break this down some more. Today's game, Morton versus Valdez. Opening line at minus 140, down to 133. I'm showing a ticket count about 54% on the Braves, and money basically dead even, 53.47 Houston, but the line's dropped 7 cents at the Circa. The revenge of Charlie Morton, I don't know. I've listened to a lot of experts, a lot of colleagues talk about how to bet this series. So they talk about, listen, if you like Houston, you might want to wait a day because this game is setting up for Atlanta. So you can get a better price on Houston if they lose tonight. And vice versa. If you like Atlanta and you think they're going to lose tonight, why bet the plus 125 when you can get it tomorrow at about plus 175? But anyone with that thought process probably used the same thought process with the Nationals, and they came in and won the first 2 games in Houston. So, Scott, talk about your thoughts, maybe some spots that you can help some people get to the window tonight.
Well, I think that this is the game the Braves are going to win. I think they're going to win this game. I think that just looking at data, numbers, balls in play, at bats, all that stuff. I think the Braves are in line here. And I think the Braves on the road are even stronger than they are going to be at home, because on the road, they're going to be able to get both Jock Peterson's bat in the lineup and Soler's bat in the lineup with the designated hitter. They're going to lose one of those guys when they go to the home And similarly, the Astros are going to lose one of their guys, but they're not going to lose a major hitter. They're going to get those guys in there. So I like the idea that the Braves are a little stronger on the road on an offensive basis. And I don't like the Houston pitching. I've said that for a long time now. I still don't like their pitching. And I think that the Braves are in that spot where, it's going to be one of these things that, I think that the Braves, if you were to wait and you want to get them tomorrow, I think that you're going to get them you would almost get them at an even price, because I think they're going to win tonight. That being said, I still think it's going to be a competitive series. There's a comment there. Hey Diggs, how you doing, brother? And I think that the other side of it is that, like we talked about with the series with the Red Sox, and that was one of those that we just said it doesn't matter, just bet the over every game. It doesn't matter who pitches. It's just going to be that way, right? I don't think that this series sets up that way. I think these are going to be more or less competitive games. I don't think they're going to be these games where you're going to have 8-8 kind of games every single night. Now you're going to have some of those. You might even get a 12-2 kind of game in here mixed somewhere. But I don't think you're going to run into the idea that you just carte blanche bet over and not worry about it. I mean, what's the total right now? Is it 8.5?
I'm showing 8 over minus 120. There's an 8.5 under 120 at Bet Online and at Heritage right now, but flat 8s on the Vegas Strip.
Well, I mean, and then think about what happens if they win today, right? So if they win today, the Braves, they're going to throw the left-handed kid out there tomorrow, right? They're going to throw Fried, right? And Fried's their best pitcher that they got. I mean, Morton's a great pitcher. He's not as good as Fried in terms of stuff anymore, but he's a war horse, been there, done that. It's great that he's going to be out there on the game one. And then who's Houston going to match up? They're going to throw Garcia probably, right? So, that's what they got. I mean, they don't have McCullers to match up to any of these guys to make them go deep. So, and then all of a sudden you're going to have, a game tomorrow that might be lined at, Houston minus 110 or something. So I think if you're going to bet this game and you're going to bet the series, you might as well bet it now. This might be the best price you get on the series, especially if, and it will be if the Braves win tonight. And if you're an Astros backer, I wouldn't be betting the line today. I would wait and obviously bet it tomorrow if you're going to do that. It's really hard to count them out. But if you go back and you kind of look at some of the data from the not World Series, but the playoffs to this point, yes, they've had some success with Houston, and I'm getting ready to pull up the numbers here. But when you look at the numbers, what is all of this crap? All these advertisements on these websites, Jeff. So you sit there and you look for how did I get to Taco Bell? I mean, Major League Baseball, and it's going to Taco Bell. I'm like, oh, come on. All right. So when you look at this and you start to look at these guys and where they're at and especially, team batting averages and team numbers and all of that stuff. The Red Sox, Astros, White Sox were the best teams, and then the Braves. So the Braves were the best team in the National League, and that matters. But if you start to break it down and then look at players, you start to think about who are these guys that are the best hitters for the Astros, and are they really hitting? And the truth is, the best player on the Astros hitting wise in terms of data numbers, let's use because this is just regular stuff. we'll use the OPS, and that's Jordan Alvarez, right? He's been really hot. He's been really good. And then there's nobody else that really kind of compares to him until they get way down to Kyle Tucker. So if you're telling me that the Astros with Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker are going to be the team that drives through the Braves, that has Eddie Rosario, who, listen, Jordan Alvarez has an OPS of 1329 and Eddie Rosario has 1313. So he matches him body for body. And then Freeman is ahead of Tucker, and then Peterson is ahead of Correa. So, you can't sit here and go, hey, all the Astros are hitting, because they're not. And they're not hitting certainly as compared to the way some of the Braves are. So I like the matchup here for the Braves. I think that this matchup is a good matchup for Charlie Morton, in a sense that I don't know how he's going to do tonight. He hasn't been real good, especially at the beginning part of the game. The last couple starts haven't been that great. But I expect Framber Valdez to get hit some. And I expect, we talked about he's a big ground ball pitcher. And I think that balls that get in the air, you might as well call them home runs, because 2 out of 3 of them go out of the ballpark against him. So I kind of like the idea that the Braves will be able to do a lot with him. And I think that it'll be one of those spots where it's pretty good.
From our friends at DraftKings, taking a look at some MVP prices, and what, again, it's kind of nice and fun when you're doing the MVPs. You want to go down further on the board, and you want to be that hero. And again, I'm not telling anyone to run to the window and put full units on these. If you're going to take one swing, or 2 swings, you put a half unit. If you want some fun in the game, maybe you sprinkle 4 quarter units. If you're all in on the Braves, you take 4 swings on the Braves. If you're all in on the Astros, you take 4 swings on the Astros, or vice versa. You split up 2 and 2, whatever it is. But again, chalk is chalk, but it doesn't matter. There's a list of like 26 guys here. There only can be one winner. There's only one MVP in the World Series. The question I have for you, Scotty, is there any lefty, or how many lefties are the Astros going to throw at any point between starters, bullpen? My point is, I think Freddie Freeman, even though he's the co-favorite with Alvarez, is going to be pretty locked in and not going to see many lefties. Am I correct or incorrect here?
Well, they don't have many lefties, Jeff. Framber Valdez is the only lefty starter that they have. And he's pitching tonight. And I'm almost certain that the reason he's pitching is because Garcia was pitching behind him before. And, Framber, he was injured for most of the season. He didn't start pitching until, I think, late May, maybe June. So he didn't pitch the second half. I think he's like at 130 innings, 138 innings, something like that when I looked. And Garcia made 28 starts. So he's been kind of the guy that came out of, I would say, almost nowhere to bolster that pitching staff. And at one time, when you had McCullers and then you had Greinke, who was pitching halfway decent at the beginning of the year, and then his arm fell off. And then you had to bring in, the other pitchers to try to stretch these guys out, just to try to make it to get to the point where they are. It's sort of unbelievable how they've lasted. In terms of lefty pitchers on the bullpen, let me pull up their bullpen while I'm thinking about it right this second, because I don't know that they have a lot of lefty pitchers, period. But we can find out real quick. Pitching, relief pitchers, Houston Astros. Let's go to Houston Astros. And they have Ryan Presley, who's not a lefty, Ryan Stanek, who's not a lefty. Christian Javier has been pitching out of the bullpen. He's not a lefty. Now let's get these guys down to where some of these guys are in here. Let's see. You got Brian Abreu. Is he a lefty? He is no, he's a righty. I don't think they got many pitchers, Jeff, that are going to be left-handed in this. They're going to throw a bunch of right-handed guys. That's what they're going to end up doing.
So again, that's the first thing that came to my mind, and I talked last week about this, and it kind of came into tuition where the Braves left Atlanta up 2-0 against the Dodgers, and Freddie Freeman was like on an 0 for 11 run with 8 straight strikeouts or 7 straight strikeouts, and then of course he heats up when he gets back to he gets out to LA. The usual suspects up there: Alvarez, Altuve, Correa, Tucker. Rosario's been as hot as a firecracker. Riley, Bregman, Max Fried at plus 1,800 is kind of sneaky there. Morton going to get game 1. Is he going to get a game 4 and 7? If you were looking at that angle, anyone in particular, and maybe a couple you can throw out there that you'd be eyeing here, Scotty?
Well, my initial thoughts is that unless you're going to have one of the guys that goes and wins game 1, and then they go out and then they win game 4, and then they win game 7, they win 3 games as a starting pitcher, you're not going to get a starting pitcher that's going to be there. And I think Max Fried is going to be set up to where, between him and Morton, if they get that way, they have that chance, because game 1, game 2, say they both win, and then they'll end up with game 4 and 5, and then it's all hands on deck for 6 and 7 if it gets to that point. So I think that I don't think that's a super realistic thing. So the question then becomes is where are they going to be in terms of offensive players? Because I don't think you're going to see any Houston Astros pitchers be in that spot either. So I think this is going to be offensive players, position players. And then you got to kind of think about who's going to be playing and what, right? So we talked about, I think a little bit where the Braves are going to get Soler back, and he's going to play. And then, is he going to play at home? I think he will. I think Jock Peterson is going to be the guy that, even though he was a vitally important person for them, just in terms of energy and enthusiasm, and, he hit long foul balls and he hit a couple home runs, but he's going to play on the road because they're going to be able to throw those guys in as DHs. But when they get home, one of those guys has to sit. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're putting a MVP ballot or bet wager on a guy like Jock Peterson. And then you got to look at it from another level, right? So I kind of think a guy like, Ozzy Albies is going to be somebody that you might want to look at. He's going to be in the middle of the lineup. He bats the, third. Nobody's really talking about the kid, and he had a great season. So, somebody like that would be someone that I would take a look at, and then, somebody like Duvall even, because Duvall is a big RBI guy and nobody even talks about that. And he could have a big series. And those are the kind of guys I think are going to win World Series MVPs, guys you don't really think about a whole lot. Not necessarily, but they're in the right position in the lineup. They're in the right spot to drive in runs. They're in the right spot to make stuff happen. And I think those might be a couple of guys to look at.
Well, kind of a quiet night, and I don't mean it, obviously excited for the World Series. We've been waiting all season for this, 6 months. There is some NBA, there is some NHL. Not a lot that, in my eyes, to talk about currently in the market. Maybe closing up. Is there? You talked about the Bucks and the Saints, and actually, let me do something right now. I just want to see if there was any movement because of the public remember what they saw last year. Actually, let me do this. Trying to find that for you. Yeah, it did. It went to 5, Scotty. So after the poor performance by the Saints, that shot up to 5 overnight, which again is kind of what we expected after that performance. Looking at the Pats at the Chargers are now at 5.5.
Well, I've got a couple of things you can look at too here in college football, right?
Okay.
So there's some interesting matchups. Like Michigan's playing Michigan State, and I think Michigan's taking some money right now, right? I think they're -4.5 now, and I think it opened at -3 or 4, something like that. But I really think that there's some spots here where you got to look, right? So if you look at Pittsburgh against Miami of Florida, I think the line opened at -11. It's down to -9. So people bet on Miami of Florida in this game, and are riding a team that is statistically, data-wise, dominated by Pittsburgh. So I'm kind of confused on a little bit of that. So watch the lines a little bit, kind of figure out what's going on with some of that stuff. And then there was some games. So Baylor plays Texas, and Baylor's -2.5. I think that game opened at maybe -2.5 or -3. And I got Baylor as a team that's pretty damn good, and I got Texas as a team that's pretty middle of the road. And if you're telling me that I can get Baylor at home at -2.5, I might just jump on that one a little early. So there's some of these games out here. Here's another good one. So Nebraska is -7.5 against Purdue. So where did that line come from? I mean, I get it, but Purdue's been pretty tough, and Nebraska's been kind of weird. They're a good football team. They just don't always play up to a good football team. San Jose State, not that I care about San Jose State that much, but I've got EPA-wise, they're ranked 70th in the country, and they're playing Wyoming, who obviously laid an egg last week, but they ranked 36th in the country on EPA, and San Jose State's a favorite. So, there's some weird stuff that I was looking at. What about Clemson and Florida State? That's a pretty big number for Clemson to have to cover, and people are betting on Florida State. So I kind of don't mind that either, to be honest. So I was looking at some of these numbers, thinking, oh my goodness, some of this stuff I've got, like some of these games are late. There's some late games I was looking at. So Stanford is a favorite over Washington. I mean, should they really be a favorite over Washington? Data number wise, they shouldn't be. And Colorado State, it ranks 40th in EPA against Boise State, who ranks 73rd. And Boise State's the favorite over Colorado State. So there's some interesting things, right? So Auburn's a favorite over Mississippi this week. SMU and Houston is a pick'em, and Houston is dominant in numbers on EPA against SMU. So another one that caught my eye was Mississippi State is a home dog to Kentucky. And I think Kentucky's a fraud team. So I might be all over Mississippi State, some of these things as they line up. And then I thought USC being -21 to anybody is kind of a joke. So I thought that was kind of a poor. I mean, you got to hold your breath if you're betting on Arizona, though. But anyway, I just thought there were some interesting things. Virginia, for example, I think is one of the best things you could look at right now on the board. Virginia plays BYU. BYU is -2.5. Do you realize, and most people probably don't because I didn't when I looked at it, Virginia ranks 3rd in EPA on offense in the entire in college football. They're a really good offensive football team. Okay, well, that tells you they're not very good on defense. But BYU, then, are they good enough to withstand Virginia's offense and then actually win the game? I don't know. I kind of like Virginia in that game. So there was a lot in here. The NC State being a 7-point favorite over Louisville, I think, is too high. But there's a lot of different things I'm kind of looking forward to this weekend for Saturday. I didn't really find anything on Thursday or Friday that caught my eye in college football, but there's a lot there.
And I'll close with the three marquee games. Ohio State opened up 16.5, now 18.5 against Penn State, which was going to be probably the headliner of the day till Penn State loses in 9 overtimes to Illinois, just destroying their season. I am. We can ask Dave Sharapan about this. Preseason was all over Georgia at 8-1, and when I saw this number, because the way the season's gone, all the big boys have basically lost. Not discounting Cincinnati. We'll talk about them at some point. I saw this number and my heart stopped for a second. And this is usually the world's largest cocktail party. It's usually played in Jacksonville. Georgia at Florida opened at 14, now 14.5. Listen, I'm a diehard Georgia fan. Go Bulldogs. I'm scared this week, and we'll talk more as this one gets closer. And the other one, the bust of the year, North Carolina opened up plus 4.5 at Notre Dame, now down to 3.5. I think Notre Dame's in after the USC game. If the real North Carolina team shows up, I think that's a good spot for North Carolina. But again, you'll know early which North Carolina team showed up. But as you said, the college board this week is loaded with some great games and nuggets, and can't wait to keep sharpening the numbers up as this week progresses. But for tonight, again, me and Scotty both lean Braves. We lean Braves in the series as well. If you're going to try to get cute and say, well, Braves lose today, I'm going to get a bigger number, you could get stung. So if you like the Braves tonight, you might want to also take them in the series as well. Get it done, get it over with. As for some MVP nuggets, Scotty talked about Albies. And what was the other? Oh, Duval. Some of your higher priced. I think, again, the one chalk obviously is Freddie Freeman. He talked about the pitchers, Morton and Fried. If you look at the Morton number, it's plus 2,500 at DraftKings. Fried's at plus 1,800. They're giving you a little hint there. And the lefty off the bench, the wild card again, as you said, Jock Peterson. He's not going with Soler back. They're gonna probably rotate, especially 3, 4, and 5. But Jocktober always has a flair for the dramatics. So maybe some pizza and beer money for Jocktober. But have some fun with it. That's the whole thing. Have some fun with it. Next Monday is November 1st, guys. So 2 months to the end of 2021. But we're still going to be here. Myself and Scotty will be back with you guys with the Breakfast Bankroll. This weekend, I myself will be on here the rest of the week. I got some guests lined up. Always on Fridays, my buddy Andrew McGinnis and McGinnis Picks and Wager Talk. Hoping to bring the real Vegas Dave on the air. Dave Sharapan at Sportsbook Consig and at the Cash Out Considerations. But we got a lot of big things brewing here, guys, at ECSI. And we hope to be sharing with them some of the news with you guys sooner than later. So, again, thanks to everyone that listened, watched. If you have any questions, follow us on Twitter at EC Sports Invest and at Webby20MLB. Send us an email at East Coast Sports Investors at gmail.com. Drop us a DM if you need to. But hope everyone has a great day. Everyone in the Northeast, buckle up. Get those galoshes ready. Make sure all your phones and everything is charged. It could be a rough couple of days, but we got this. So if you're wagering today, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up that phone. There's an 800 number out there. Reach out, ask for help. It's okay. We're here. Why? Because we care. So from Scott and Jeff, have a blessed day. Good luck with your wagers. Go Chop, go Chop, go Chop. Enjoy the World Series, and we'll see you tomorrow.